Hello and welcome back. It's puzzle time with Sudoku Sleuth, and happy weekend all. Today we're playing Whisper Time, or as you can see in the subtitle below, Equalities Cages 116. So I feel like we're making good time, good progress, because we're already at puzzle 16 in this series, and we've actually done a few of the other ones because they were slightly easier when we featured them on weekdays. But let's be honest, gUBBLOR has been just constructing them left, right, and center. I think he's already at 26. So whilst I feel like we're making good time, we still have quite a bit of puzzles to chop through over the coming weekends. What else do I want to say before we get stuck into the puzzle? So today you're gonna guess it's all about Dutch whispers, and you've got a few clues here in the thumbnail. One, we've got people dressed in orange. Prisoners dressed in orange, but they're also sporting the Dutch flag for some reason on their sleeve, and they're whispering to one another. And we're inside cages, or a prison system here. So it is all about the fusion of equality cages today with Dutch whisper lines. So tricky, because obviously Dutch whisper lines do allow fives, but let's take a look at today's puzzle. I'm particularly excited for it. So, equality cages 116. I did check how this is pronounced. I think it was Fluister tijd, or Whisper Time in Dutch by gUBBLOR. And the rule sets are actually not too lengthy today. You can actually just about read it on the screen. So the first off, normal Sudoku rules. I should actually just, pardon me. Yep. No. How do I go back? Undo. Sorry about that. I'm just trying to keep track of when I actually start to solve. Right, rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply. That means place the digits 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, and in every 3x3 box. Then we have, of course, the equality cages. So cages must have an equal number of low, as in 1, 2, 3, or 4, or high, as in 6, 7, 8, or 9. You also need to have an equal number of odds. Well, it does say evens first, 2, 4, 6, or 8. And odd numbers, 1, 3, 7, 9. Notice the odd digits did not include the 5 because you can never have a 5 inside an equality cage. So that's sort of the trick about equality cages, is equal number of lows, equal number of highs, equal number of odds, equal number of evens, and no, you cannot place a 5. So if this was a 2, for example, that's a low even digit. I have to pair it up with a high odd digit to have an equal number of both. We also have Kropki dots. I'm guessing no negative constraints. Yep, no negative constraints. So a black dot between cells indicates cell values that are within a 2 to 1 ratio. So for example, if this was a 2, this would have to be 1 or 4 to be in a 2 to 1 ratio. The fact that it says nothing, you don't actually have to be, there are no negative constraints, means if this was a 1, nothing wrong with this being a 4, that doesn't require a black dot between them. We also have white dots. So if this was a 2, this would be 1 or 3 to make sure they're consecutive. And once again, nothing stops me from having a 3 in here, a 1 in there, well, a 1, and there is no white dot between these two cells. Then we have x's. There's only one x I can see here. So these two cells must add up to 10. If that was a 4, this would have to be a 6 to make sure they do add up to 10. And then, of course, there is the Dutch whisper line. So adjacent digits along each Dutch whisper line must have a difference of at least 4, which is terrible because, 2 and 1 clearly breaks. The 1 and 6 are fine. They're 5 apart. If that was, I'll have to delete this, I'll have to delete that. If that was a 6, this would have to be 1 or 2, mind you, for it to be 4 or more apart. And that would be the same is true of this particular cell. Now, the tricky thing about Dutch whispers, if this was a 1, is that I can actually have a 5 on a Dutch whisper line. So normally on a German whisper line, you could see something like, it goes low, high, low, but you can actually do something odd like middle, and then reversed that pattern by going up to 9, because again, 9 can be 4 or more away from 5. And rather than going low, low, high, low, that's not high, and clearly that is not low. So you're going to have to be really watchful for the 5s on today's puzzle. So the only thing left to say is, well, I don't know if you want to mingle with these whispering Dutch prison mates, but I'm sure you want to play this puzzle. Link will be in the description down below as usual for you to play along. And with that said, I'm going to restart the clock and see how I get on. So, something that I've learned about equality cages is these can only ever be made up of 3, 6. If you have a 2 cell with a black Kropki dot between them, from all of the possible pairs, 1, 2, 2, 4, 4, 8, and 3, 6, the only one that meets the equality cage rule set of 1 low, 1 high, well, it's only 4, 8 or 3, 6, but 4, 8 is both even. Only 3, 6 has both an odd and an even, as well as a low and a high digit. So, 3, 6. Dutch whisper line. I don't know why I just deleted these, so I'm going to refer to them again. On a Dutch whisper line, when it comes to blacks, black dots I mean, I think the only pair that works is 4, 8. See, 1, 2 is only a difference of 1. Clearly that doesn't work. 2, 4 is only a difference of 2. That doesn't work. 3, 6 is only a difference of 3. That doesn't work. So 4, 8 is our friend here, and that should help us probably make a bit of a break-in at this point. So I'm thinking, if this is a 4, that would be 8, that would be 6. 6 is way too close for a 4. It's only 2 cells away, sorry, 2 numbers away. That's 8, that's 4, that's got to be 3, that does work, that's a 6. On the white dot now, the 6 has to be consecutive. It can't be a 5 inside an equality cage. That's a 7. This needs to be a low even digit. It's not a 4. That's a 2. This is, well, we've got 2 evens, so these are 2 odd digits. And my options are actually quite limited in here. So it's either 1 or 9, because 3 and 7 are gone. But unfortunately, I have all the options in here. Well, all the valid Dutch whisper line options. 1 and 3 is not available. They're 2 low digits, too close to the 4. 7 is too close. It's only 3 away. That's got to be 9. That's got to be 1. We're making progress. And these 2 cells, well, that 9 can't be there. That's in here, and that's a 5. Tricky. Because that means this is 1 or 9, and we don't know which one it is. So we'll have to come back to that momentarily. Right, so, well, momentarily might be immediately if, you know, box 3 doesn't prove useful. So I'm just having a think about box 3 for a second. So the even numbers are gone. We need 2 odd digits, given we have 2 even digits, but also doesn't matter. Both 4, 6 are gone because the 4 is not available, and 2, 8 is gone and they're not available. So this is either 1, 9 or 3, 7. If it's 8, both 1 and 3 work. If it's 4, only the 9 works. The 7 is too close, as we've seen down here earlier. So 7 is not available, and therefore 3 is not available. Okay. Let's think about this. So, something about loops in Dutch whisper lines. You can always tell how many 5s they have. At least that's my theory. So we know that this is not a 5. And then the question is this a 5 as well or not? Because we need to, I'm just going to make up a color now. This is blue, this is red, this is blue. If that's not a 5. Red. That was an awful example. How about I try this again? Blue. Let's assume for a second that's red. That's blue. That's red. That does work. So that could be 9. That would be, well, not 6, 7. or 9. This would be, so this is 5 or 8. Not necessarily. If this is a 5, that could be back to a 1. That could be a 9 again. But that could be 5. That can't be 9. So even if this is 5, this remains low because it cannot be 9. It would have to be back down to a 1. So this is always low. So this is 1, 3, or 4. 4 is allowed if this is an 8. And because this is not a 5 and this is low, this is definitely high. So that isn't 1, that is definitely 9. And therefore this is 5 or 8, but both work. Interesting. Okay. Not really what I was hoping for. I was hoping for something a bit more conclusive. So up here, I'm going to say there's definitely a 9 inside this cage. You can sort of conclude this with classic Sudoku, but that wasn't really what I was thinking. I was thinking that inequality cages with Dutch whisper lines going through them, we can't have 3, 6. They're too close. They're only 3 apart. And 2, 7 is not available, and 8 is not available. So we know that there's a 9 in here with a low digit. And unfortunately, pretty much all the low digits would work, except we know it has to be even, and 2 is not available. So this is 4, 9. Which I think might help. You see, this one cannot have a 9. And we already said the 6. Presumably I can do 1, 6. Yeah, I can do 1, 6. So the fact that there isn't a 9 is not meaningful necessarily. And yeah, my deduction here about the fact that there had to be a 9, that really comes down to the classic Sudoku, because I could have done 1, 6 in here. I don't know what I thought about the 3, 6 purely because of the black Kropki dot. Nothing said it had to pair up with a 3. Anyway, 4, 9 is working here. This is tricky. I'm not actually sure where to go next. I mean, I'm going to do a bit of classic Sudoku for a second. We know 4 is here. Maybe worthwhile thinking about what column 5 is, particularly because of these Dutch whisper lines. So the remaining digits that I need are 1, 3, not 4, not 2, 5, and 6. So technically, I can have a 5. I mean, I can't have a 6 on here, but I can have a 5 with a 1. But certainly any of these would work. Sort of. Let's go 5, 1. Yeah, I'm free then to do whatever I want. But if I put a low digit in here, it can't be a 3. Because the only available high digits with 7, 8, and 9 are all gone. It's too close. So that can't be a 3. That is 5 or 1. Now, if it's 1, I'm going to leave the 1 a second because, I know the 5 could go to a 1 in here. In fact, it would be forced to. If it's 1, it would actually have to be a 6. 6, not 5. No, it can be a 5. So if it's 5, it's 1. If it's 1, it's 5 or 6. Thing is, I can actually avoid having a 5 in here. I can do 9, 1, 6. There's no guarantee of any digit. Other than the 1, I think. Because it's either a 1, in which case we've used the 1, or it's a 5, which would require a 1. So no 1s in any of these. Now what happens when I get here? This is way trickier than I was expecting. I feel like I should be thinking about these a bit more. I'm going to keep pushing for a second and just see where it leads me. Just see what's around the corner from here. It's just with 3 options, there's so many things this can be. If it's a 6, that can be a 2. Well, if it's a 6, it's forced to be 2. That can't be a 5, because essentially I would have gone 9, 1, 5, and the 5 could only ever be surrounded by 1 and 9, and I've already placed them. So that cannot be a 5. If this has gone 5, 1, I need a high digit in here. 9 is not available, but basically everything else works. Yeah, not great. This equality cage. So you know there are no 9s. If there is an 8, both 1 and 3 work. If there is a 7, only 2 works. And a 6, only a 1 works. So many options. Does this white Kropki dot limit it in any way? Maybe? So the absence of a 5 in any of these because of the equality cages might help. I'm not sure how it helps, but it might help. So let's do some math. If that was a 4, because this is a 9, this would have to be 8. That would break this cell. So that has to be a 9. That has to be a 4. That gives me an 8. That gives me a 4. The 8 can be next to the 1 or 3. So it doesn't actually disambiguate. This is now a high digit, and it can't be a 5. It needs to be a low digit. It's not 1 or 4. It is 2 or 3. These, we know it's not a 9, but it has to be a high digit. And I'm guessing it can be just about anything. It's not just anything, it's just 7 or 8. If it's 2, it's a 7. If it's 3, it's an 8 because a 6 is too close. This 4 in here requires an 8 on the Dutch whisper line. The 8 has quite a bit of freedom, but no 5, mind you. And because there is no 5, if that's a 1, one of the challenges, of course, is this could have been a 5, but because that can't be a 9, and I can't have a second 1, there are no 5s in here. So I know I can color. So this is not 4, but it's 1, 2, or 3. And this is a high digit, and it's not 8, but it can be 6, 7, or 9. I can do something like 1, 6, 2. That does work. So the 6 is allowed with a 7 here, which would make this 8, which would make this 3. Yeah, there's so many options right now. Let's just keep thinking. What else am I missing? The 8s. There's a definite 8 in here. And I'm going to say the 8 is this cell. Reason is of that white Kropki dot now actually being useful. I mean, the 9 gives me a 7. Sleuth may as well use some of this. And that gives me an 8. So that would have been one way of doing it. But because if I place an 8, let me just show you this, on this Dutch whisper line, sorry, on this white Kropki dot, well, the 8, 9 is not available. It would have been a 7, 8, which would have broken this cell. So that's 7, that's the 8. That would have to be a 3, even, odd. That's not 3, that is 3. That looks pretty good right now. That has to be a low digit, and it's not a, it can be a 4. Can be 4, 5, no, it can't be 4. So that's 1, 2, and therefore that's another 1, 2. These are from 5, 6. That's a 5, 6 pair. The 1 now can only be in here. That's a 3. That's not a 3. That's not a 6. That's not a 7 either. That's a 9. And these two are from 2, 7. Remove these from options down here. This is 6, 8. That means this has to be low. That is a 1. That's a 5. That's a 6. That's a 5. That's a 6. And these are from 1, 2, 5, includes a 2. That's a 7. That's a 2. It's finally flowing a bit. We know what these cells are, or at least I can pencil mark them. They are 3, no. They are just 5, 6, and 7. This is not a high digit. These are 2 low digits, 3, 4. And therefore, this has to be a high digit. It's not 9, it's not 8. It is, in fact, 6 or 7. It's sort of heavily dependent on whether these are odds or even as to what this will be. Excellent. We're making progress now. Both 1 and 2 work in here. 5 and 8 still work. Not the 8. That's a 5. Therefore, that is a 1. These two now have to be even because I've got 2 odd digits. That's a 4. That's a 6. That's a 3. That's not 5 or 6. That's a 7. And that's a 5, 6 pair. No, that's not on the Dutch Whisper. That's not on the Dutch Whisper. Right. So we're definitely going to have to rely a bit more on classic Sudoku to make a bit of progress here. So where does 4 go? It's in one of 2 cells. 3, in fact, is just placed. 8, that's a 4, 8 pair. This is 2, 7, 9. You've got 7 and 9 looking at this cell. That's 2, that's 7, 9. Both of these are high. That's got to be low. That's 4, that's 8. That's 7, 9. Can be a 9 with a 5, so doesn't exactly help me with doing a quick run. No, it's not. No, it can be. 9, 5. I can go back up to 9 with a 1. So possible still. Let's just do a bit of Sudoku that might help clean up. These are from, I'm going to say 1, 3, and 4. That's not a 1. That's not a 3. That 1 is joined with either a 9, a 7, or 6, none of which are not allowed. A 6 is very tricky because it needs 1, 2 around it, and the 1 is gone. So that's not a 6. That's not a 4. That's a high digit. So you see that 9, 9 with a 5 is starting to look fairly likely now. So my options are, it's a 5 with that double 9, or it's a low digit that can be next to the 7, which is not a 4, not a 3, 1 or 2. And it's not a 1 because the 1, 3, 4 is on this side. So this is 2 or 5. If it's 2, that can still be 9 or 7. Okay, that has to be a low. Ooh. Again, if it's a 9, that could be a 5. But my options are once again 2 and 5. That's a 2, 5 pair. The strangest 2, 5 pair you've seen. But again, with 1, 3, 4 all done. 8, that can only go in here. And these are, there's a 6 for sure, which gives me a 5, gives me a 6, removes the 5, that's the 2, that's the 5, that's the 9. That now, it actually doesn't necessarily matter, but yeah, that's 7, that's 9. This is now a 6, 7 pair. That 9 gives me a 1, a 4, a 3. Lovely. That's another 6, 8. Not resolved. And these are 2, 4, and 7. You can see 2 and 4 here. That gives me a 7 with another 2, 4 pair down here. We'll keep going. This is going reasonably smoothly. It's just under 20 minutes at the moment. 3, 4, 7. 289. 3, 4, 7. I have just a 4 here. No 9, no 8. And these are 1. Of course, there's a 5 and a 6. Not a 6. Right, let's see what this Dutch... Well, let's do one more, actually. We've got 1, 5, and 6, I'm going to say. Again, not a 6. Is that the same triplet? How did that happen? 2, 7, 9, 3, 8, 4. Yeah. Right. What does this all mean? If that's a 2, this will be high. So no 5, so we're definitely flipping polarities a few times. And then we get into trouble with the 5. Are the equality cages going to come to the rescue here at the end? Let's just think about this. What are my options here and here? See, 1, 5, and 9 are gone from this Dutch whisper line, as are 4 and 8. This is quite a restrictive cell. So it's 2 or 3, or 6 or 7. This equality cage. No 9s, no 1s. Yeah, not great. See, I'm just having a think about it. I've got a 1, 5 pair, which gives me a 2. I need a 3, 7 and a 2, 8. I'm just looking a bit too much and not doing enough thinking. So I'm sort of looking at the grid, trying to see what's the obvious next step, and I'm not necessarily seeing it. 2 gives me a 1, gives me a 2. There are no 6s in here. So there's definite 6 in there. The 6 means it has to be joined with a 5. 5 as in, sorry, the 1. The 5 is too close. That's the 5. That's a 1. Now I have a definite 5, 6 pair in here. If that's a 6, that can't be 3. If that's a 1, that would be a 7. If that's a 2, this would be 7 or 9. If that's a 7, well, 4 is not available. That would be a 2. There's, again, a definite 2 in here, which gives me a 9, gives me a 2. The 9 eliminates this, so that's a 2, 7 pair. 3, 7, 8. 2, 7 doesn't help me with my 1, 5. So I'm really going to have to be able to actually just resolve this Dutch whisper line and all the 5s. The 2 can't be next to a 5. That's a 6. That's a 1. That's a 6. There are no 5s on the Dutch whisper line. That's a positive. And that 2 will probably help me resolve a lot of things. So would that 7. 6, 7, 6, 8. That 1 gives me a 5, a 1. I need a high digit that is not 6, 7, or 8. It's a 9. And then we're done. This needs a high digit. It is an 8. You can only go in here with a low odd digit, which is a 3. And then for the finish, it's a 4. Only 47 solves. Certainly deserves more solves than this. I mean, I think one of the things I really enjoy about these puzzles is, gUBBLOR chooses one additional variant with the equality cages. And today was very much about Dutch whisper lines. And then when you look at things like black Kropki dots, just how many things are actually forced to help you place things. It's absolutely incredible. But then once you sort of made a bit of progress in the top half of the grid, you really needed to go back down to classic Sudoku to sort of solve the rest, which is, I mean, it's a phenomenal puzzle. Hope that you guys enjoyed it. There are many more equality cages that have been featured on this channel. And take a look at what YouTube's going to give you in that playlist next. Bye-bye for now.